is up, guitar gods? It's a guitar story in here with a special video for you today. We're going to be checking out and comparing three of the most iconic and popular pedals ever made. The Ibanez Ts9 Tube Screamer, the Boss DS-1 Distortion, and the Electro-Harmonix Big Muff Fuzz. It's going to be an epic shootout to find out which of these pedals sounds the best, going direct into an audio interface or recording on a computer. So for those of you guys who like to use pedals to record on your computer, we're going right into the M-Audio Air 192/4, and I have them all daisy chained up right now in a row, as you'll be able to see on the pedal cam once we get started, and we're good to go, man. Now before we get to the shootout, I wouldn't be the guitar historian if I didn't give you a short history on these three pedals. But if you want to skip straight to the demo, check out the description where I will put a timestamp to the beginning of the demo part of the video if you want to just skip the history. But if you're still here, let's start with the Ibanez Ts9. The Ts9 Tube Screamer replaced the previous version, the TS-808, in 1981. The Tube Screamer series was designed by Susumu Tamura to go up against the Boss OD1 Overdrive and the MXR Distortion Plus pedals. The distortion produced is known to be smooth and symmetrical and keeps the pick attack and the tone of the guitar and the player present without sending the signal into a muddy mess. The list of famous players who have used the Tube Screamers in the past is vast and varied, with players such as Stevie Ray Vaughan, Billy Joe Armstrong, Cliff Burton on bass, and Trey Anastasio having the TS9 as anchors in their rigs. Keith Williams of 5 Watt World, he did an amazing, fantastic rundown of the history of the Tube Screamer. I'm going to drop a link down below in the comments. It's just way more research than I would ever do on just a Tube Screamer. So if you're interested, go ahead and watch that video. Check it out when you're done here, obviously. The next pedal that we're going to be looking at is the Boss DS-1 Distortion pedal. It's cheap, it's orange, it's tough as nails, and it's been the weapon of mass destruction for countless garage bands for over 40 years. It was introduced by Roland under the Boss name in 1978. It's known to produce a raw, cutting treble distortion that cuts through the mix and ruptures eardrums of anyone within 25 feet of the speaker. Kurt Cobain used this pedal to conquer the world in the early 90s. Other users have been known to be Steve Vai, Gary Moore, and John Frusciante. And the last pedal we'll be looking at is the Big Muff. The Muff story started in '67 with Mike Matthews, and he made a fuzz pedal called the Foxy Lady for Jimi Hendrix. It was released through Guild Guitars, and this morphed into a new company called Electro-Harmonix, which started to produce the Big Muff. And version 1 was known as the Triangle Big Muff. It was released in 1969. And since then, there have been over 20 versions of this pedal, some very different than the others. The pedal you'll be hearing today is my Black Russian version of the pedal, the small Black Russian, technically. There's a large Black Russian and a small Black Russian, apparently. It was made around 99 or 2000. I'm not sure exactly when I bought it. But if you want a crazy amount of information, and I'm talking crazy, also in the description there'll be a link to Kit Ray's website, where he breaks down each and every version of the Big Muff pedal and the history behind it. Famous players who have used the Big Muff are Billy Corgan, Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys, Carlos Santana, and probably the most famous time you've heard it is on the Comfortably Numb solo by David Gilmour. Alright, without further ado, let's take a look at these pedals. Alrighty, so here we go. So what we're going to do real quick, as you can see the setup over here, we got the Big Muff, the Distortion, the Tube Screamer, all in a row going into the M-Audio and then into the MacBook Pro. We're going to start recording without further ado, and we'll go through it. And I'll stop periodically and we'll talk about the sounds that we're getting out of each individual pedal. So we're going to start with the Tube Screamer first, and we'll see what we got. All right. Well, the Tube Screamer definitely lives up to its name. You hear the screaming part really comes in kind of after the pick attack. You get the nice sound of the pick attack. You can really hear what's going on with the notes that you're playing, and then you get a nice kind of rising level of distortion that kind of stops at a certain point and then starts to come back down to earth. And it's got a really nice round to it, a really nice sound, and it really sounds like you can dial in a lot of different tones on here. Like if you roll it back to almost nothing, like almost a bassy tone, you can probably get a nice George Harrison type tone. And then you roll it up and you can get something a little bit more cutting. Almost like a quacky tone that you can get, kind of like a Blues Breakers era type sound. It's really cool that you can use this tone knob that really gives you a whole lot of nice little variations here. All right, DS-9. So now we're going to look at the Boss Distortion DS-1. Let's see what that has to do. Alright, so what we're getting out of the Boss Distortion is definitely a more white noise kind of sound, something that has a little bit more, it's got less depth and more kind of just sonic volume that goes across the entire time that you hit the strings. You just, as soon as you hit the strings, you get this kind of constant sound of washing waves, so kind of just... So with single notes, you can still kind of get the pick attack, but if you hear the difference between like an A chord on the Tube Screamer, we'll turn that on for 1 second. So you really get that initial, right? But with the distortion, it's almost like you can't even hear it. You don't even hear that beginning part. It's like, it's just instant, you know what I mean? So this song seems to have a little bit more receptiveness to what the guitar player is trying to do. All right, so there's your distortion. Finally, my Black Russian Big Muff. I'll turn that up to kind of middle. Well, the Big Muff certainly has its own distinctive sound, doesn't it? So the thing with the Big Muff for me is always like, I see colors when I use the Big Muff. I don't know what color that is. It's just like when I'm playing it, I almost feel like there's colors flashing through my mind. I don't know why that is, and I don't know what that has to do with anything, but the Big Muff is just, to me, it has a very distinctive sound, but it's also very, very overpowering to what you're playing. So if you're not careful, you can really get lost in what it's doing, and you can really end up just kind of doing all kinds of different stuff. And the Big Muff really, even if you turn, so this one's marked sustain, but this is technically like this would be your distortion level or whatever. So even when you turn it down, you do get more pick attack. And then with that, you'll kind of get a little bit of your Spirit in the Sky tone. And then you turn it up and you get just wild, just all. I mean, it's fun, man. The Big Muff can really be fun. All right, so yeah, there you go. As I said, your 3 pedals. I didn't really want to have it be kind of like a, this is what I think. But if you were to hold a gun to my head and ask me what the best of the 3 is, I mean, it's no question, it's the Tube Screamer. The Tube Screamer has so much sonic opportunity in it. I mean, you can kind of go from being, you can use it for rhythm, you can use it for lead, you can use it as a kind of bass cut, you can use it as a treble cut, you can use it as so many different ways. It's a very versatile pedal. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people use it. It's just got so much going for it and so much packed into it, and it's a very simple design. And it's just classic, man. It's just the best. That would be my pick, but the reason I did this was so that you guys can listen to it on your own and you can decide for yourself what you like. That's all I got for you. So hopefully you enjoyed, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Guitar Historian.